Hello everyone and welcome to Crosskeys match winner bracket round 5 game 2 match between Linlinlin and Andy. With me today I have our two wonderful commentators. Say hello you two.
Hello you two.
You too as well.
We are in for a treat. Getting down to the pointy end of this tournament, the quality of the runners just keeps going up. Andy is the only professional Link to the Past rando player in the world. But Linlinlin is no slouch. He knows all the tricks. He's probably slightly more experienced at Crosskeys than Andy, but not by a ton. So we'll see how this goes. Got about 30 seconds to go. What are you hoping to see tonight?
Oh my goodness. Well, it was a really nice. It was a tight match last time. So I'm expecting to. I really want this to go to round 3. So I'm hoping for Linlinlin, just so that we go for more of these two play against each other, because it's wild to watch them play.
And we're underway. Andy is going to show off the Andy start, which, as far as I can tell, he's the only person that does it, which is to go straight to the castle. Whereas Lynn is a good old-fashioned fake flipper to the Witch's Hut player. Andy tries to make sure he doesn't abandon the Witch's Hut for too long, but I'm not... I think Andy starts every seed of every possible mode with this castle play. And so I guess he sees no reason to change it just because it's Crosskeys.
Not paying off this time, just a little potion shop, or, well, not potion shop, but a shop.
There's a couple of things, other ways to get paid. That free pull was one of them, but also didn't work out. One of the downsides to this play that Andy's making is that he's just walked into the sanctuary, which could have saved himself a lot. Looks like he's stepping back outside to see if he can acquire a bomb from somewhere, like, say, this bomb shop that he already knew about. So
yeah, that's pretty worth it for a good start, knowing where to get some bombs.
So we'll see a back of escape check from Andy here. When getting the fake flipper back across the water. Unfortunately for the runners, the castle save and quit point is probably the worst one.
I have no idea what rod that was, but that was a rod.
Yeah, I mean, you don't even need to scroll up enough to see which one it is, because you can take it either way. And it turns out the answer is fire.
Very nice.
Andy, unfortunately, finding absolutely nothing of interest in the back of escape, which happens sometimes. But with some bombs in hand, he gets to do some bomb checks to see what's there, and finds the laser eyes entrance at
Turtle Rock.
yeah. Sorry. The Lightworld Eyes entrance at Lightworld Hype Cave, or Link's Ferry, or whatever you're going to call it. And it turns out that the laser eyes also found Andy.
I don't think he would have wanted to wander further in there anyway.
So it's a decent bomb farm if you don't screw it up. And speaking of bomb farms, he also found the front of Turtle Rock. Which is a better find, I guess, by a little bit.
And there's Eastern Palace, right by the lake.
And he does make me do lots of clicking on the tracker so far.
Oh, and that was Samaria on Hylia Island, so that is nice.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of rotten, but it's nice to know where it is whenever a my goodness, my brain just shut off for
Mira?
a second. Whenever a mirror shows up, yes, mirror, that the looky thing.
You also need some other stuff, like those flippers help. Presumably help logically.
And there they are.
So Lynn actually choosing to do an Eastern dip that Andy left behind. The argument for not doing this dip is that, well, one, it takes a long time, and two, it's quite close to Link's house, so you can get back here anytime. On the other hand, if you find cool toys in here, that's a payout. But I think many runners in this scenario would make the choice that Andy made to leave it behind.
Yeah, it's easy to get back. It's not going to cost you time having to leave it behind.
Andy finding a dark room, doing a bit of scouting to see if it's the Old Man Rescue entrance, which you can do just by holding up and seeing if you get the fall down noise. Looks like it's not, so he's off to go check the next entrance. Have to be careful about the Octorok because of being down to one heart. And finds a desert entrance.
Yeah, right side desert, not bad.
And chooses, looks like he's deliberately dying here to save some time walking around in a moment. Eternal September, the command is !bracket with no S. We are deep into the winner's bracket here. I think both these runners are sort of a top 6 finish. And Lynn successfully navigating the Eastern Palace Dark Room with no no easy way to find himself. It's still a room that everybody's practiced really hard, but I'm still impressed that it goes that smoothly.
On Desert Torch.
That's
Booty.
Have a good time.
Yeah, Tootie Flutie, where are the booties?
Looks like Lynn opting to actually beat this room because lack of hearts. Andy finding the top of the castle somehow. I looked away for a second. Oh, it'll be one of the other desert entrances. And then finding Paradox Cave.
This will be nice. A nice few checks. That's 7 checks for him, so worth it. It's a Ganon Tower small.
And Lynn, very conscientiously, used a whole bunch of Fire Rod in his Eastern Clear because he was not afraid of running out of magic because he knows that there is Turtle Rock front entrance right there, which has a nice full magic refill. See if Andy finds anything good in Paradox Cave.
Lynn is following those flippers, see what can be seen. Well, there is Agus Tower.
Oh, this room is so much easier with a Fire Rod than it is with some of the early game stuff that these runners sometimes get left with. Andy choosing to bomb jump to check the, make sure he can check all the connectors here. That's a useful one. Finding Bumper Ledge,
Rip.
which is an extremely useful connector. Trying to jump down from Bumper Ledge with 3 hearts green mail as a money is fraught with peril. Let's just go with fraught with peril. I know that sometimes, under some circumstances, the Murder Dactyl does not get you, but I don't know how controllable that is. Andy checking the 50-50 bushes on his walk to Cack. And Lynn now making a castle play. Presumably to cover off Andy having made this play. Lynn knows Andy's going to do that. But Lynn still hasn't, several saving quits into the game, started at Sanctuary. and so is going to get some bad news right about now. A small key on the race game is a terrible news, because it's not ambiguous. It's ambiguous whether it's actually useful or not. Bumper.
Well, we know we need
Sorry,
Smaria on the island, so Mirror will have to come eventually.
Yeah, I mean you're pretty likely to get the mayor eventually in most seeds. There's enough things that are mirror locked, but
Andy find in Thieves Town?
gonna go in and get his 3 items, and Lynn, having found Sanctuary the unfortunate way, also makes the walk around to the drop. Gets 20 rupees, and 20 rupees.
Consistency. That is the point of this seed. And seeing our first bottle over on Andy's side inside Thieves Town.
It's nice to have, even if just for the peace of mind of not having to go back to wherever sick kid happens to be hanging out. Lynn, successfully operating a laser-eyed entrance, and with a fire rod in hand, is happy to go further in, because the pokey room that's coming up in a little bit isn't so problematic. Andy finds dim boots.
Booties! Okay, this is nice.
Finally gets to put something on his tracker, other than a bottle. And save and quits rather than carrying on from there. Slightly
Makes
surprising,
sense.
given that he was in Kakariko, but I guess he can run back there not too slowly. Finds the library in the Mock Rocks, which is convenient for you need the boots.
He's going back to desert. He is going back to desert.
Go and go get his flute, which is fair enough. You're gonna have to walk back to Kakariko one more time anyway to activate the flute, so you might as well do it as soon as possible. And you can also check the last exit while he's here.
Boots were in Thieves Town.
The 4th chest too. So, and Lynn finds a bottle in a completely different spot than Andy did. Made his way all the way up to change up chests. Looks like Andy is going to try to go out the 3rd connector here in Desert while he's at. Might as well. The end of his ride either way. Skipping the big chest was a little bit surprising. It gets spat out at Meyer. Which
And learning
is
that fire is Bombos.
a good find. Lynn really playing the let's not go to Kakariko game pretty hard here.
Found Swamp. And Pod over on Lynn's side.
I was worried for a second there that Andy had managed to find 2 dungeons quite that quickly as I was trying to mark my map. I was wondering if Andy was going to start at Sank and go through the screen that nobody ever goes through. Looks like the answer is no.
No, never again.
Lynn, with a bottle in hand, choosing to do the right side of Pod, which is totally reasonable. Andy finding
Andy's-
the
his-
fire rod at Useless Ferry. Oh, and Lin is too cool for Potion Glitch. He's just going to do Mimic Clip with no buffers. This is kind of just Lin showing off. I mean, it saves him his potion, but that is really, really hard to do, especially that fast. That was a really nice Mimic Clip. It's very precise shenanigans to clip the Mimic into the wall, and one of the few places where Lin probably has an execution advantage over Andy, so might as well exploit it. So Gilbert92, I said, "Are you worried about Andy hovering?" And after he won his last round, he said, "I can hover." So Lin not worried about that. Yeah, Andy can Mimic Clip, just not that fast. He uses buffer strats, which are reasonable. Andy finding the bomb shop in Bonk Rocks, which yields some nice information for later.
Lin found the back of Skull Woods.
Is nice to know, but so Eternal September, without a sword, you're not meeting Skullwood's back.
And we have found Ganon locked behind the lumberjacks. AGA 1 is required.
That's not anybody's idea
That's
of a good
what
time.
I want. I
Yep.
support it.
Also means that those boots are required, but and that's, slightly bad news for Lin, who's already done the first 2 rooms in Aga Tower, but that's, in the grand scheme of things, not a huge deal.
Yeah, dipping everything is almost expected.
Yeah. Another pod small for Andy.
Yeah, Andy has been farming the keys so far compared to Lin, who has found 1.
I mean, Lin found those flips in the fire rod and got distracted following them, which is fair enough.
Makes
Lin
total
being
sense.
full on bombs, not interested in farming 50-50 pushes.
Oh, okay. What is that? It should be coming up live now. But whatever the issue was, it was on the bot, which was not my fault.
Okay. Well, we just got a hook shot. Lin found a hook shot there in Hyrule Castle.
Alright, I can stop doing text play-by-play and go back to using my face.
Hey!
Okay. So just to clarify for everyone on chat, it was just a case of the bot dropping internet, which is what it's being hosted on. So hopefully that doesn't happen again. If it does, I'll have to change things. But yeah, I assume that error was on my side, not the bot side. So hopefully we should be good. Sorry guys, continue.
Technical
Only on the
difficulties,
bot
inevitable.
side. Yeah, that's the crypt side.
Lin with a nice bump set up there for the blue guard, which not only kills the guard quickly, but kills it in a spot so we can pick up the key. That was really nice. Unfortunately for Lin, he's checking Kakariko in, quote, the wrong order, unquote. Going to leave his boots basically right to the end of this sweep.
And we got our first set of gloves in the back of the tavern.
So the streams might resync in a minute, guys. Hopefully that sorts itself out. If not, we have to play poke at Void Kingdom again.
If I talk slow, will that help? Or
No.
will it hinder? Okay. Good, because I don't talk slow very often.
Lin also picking up those gloves. So having cleaned out Kakariko and assorted light world locations, the runner's going to wind up with gloves and boots and a fire rod and a hook shot and a flute, which is a bunch of good stuff, but it's not a moon pearl or a mirror.
Or whenever there may be a hammer show up.
Or other assorted shenanigans. There's
Yeah, there's multiple ways to get in there. The hammer's just the most straightforward.
Hook is front of escape bridge, and flips were I want to say in Turtle Rock somewhere. Oh, Eastern.
Oh, they
They've
were
both done a bunch of dips already. Sorry. Andy running with the old man, who is not fit, and so does not run very fast. Finds the old man, and Bonsai doesn't run very fast, but is willing to throw himself off a cliff. Lin trying to do some hook shot movement to save himself some time. Now is going to unlock the easier way to do that with these boots.
very nice. Now, has Lynn seen that entrance to desert yet?
I don't believe so. I don't think he's done an Eastern sweep yet. So
No.
We'll get good news when he makes it over there.
Meyer Shed just holding a lot of money today.
So, Brev, the health should be distributed roughly evenly between all of the checks. So, in fact, it's usually a decent proxy for how many checks the runners have made, how much health they have. And so, to some extent, this is anomalously low amounts of health. Andy
Just
finding a
getting
couple
more
of
money from Checker.
chest of single item caves. All the single item caves that he's finding have money in them. For 25 minutes into a Crosskeys race, without having done Houlihan, Andy is loaded.
Yeah, don't really know why he made the choice to get the money, but I guess he just likes having a healthy bank account.
I would assume that that's just a case of autopiloting, like, hey, $50, that seems good. Not remembering that that he's already got 1,000 other bucks. Did you see the pet check?
No, I not. My stream just started to buffer.
No, I also missed it. So
Okay,
now you
mine's
can find
catching up.
Argus.
Catching up,
Well,
maybe.
we can do that anyway. So, and the old man save and quit at Village of Outcasts leads to some bunny traversal by Andy. Looks like he's not interested in going nuts, but in principle, that bunny traversal could be required. So. But first, we will flute everywhere.
Yeah, now with the freedom of flying, Andy will just be hopping all around.
Falling in a
Nothing
hole in a dark room. So does not find the connector that he's looking for. Yeah, it's either a map or a compass, and nobody ever knows which one it is because they never get it. Andy doing some key stealing shenanigans here. Having found the back of desert and getting stolen the key, he's off to go check if there's anything over here.
For now is okay.
I expect a reset in a moment. Lynn finding another dark room that he's also not interested in. I expect if Andy does not find something good on this big chest, we're going to see a reset. Yep. So, stole the key from the back, went and checked if there was anything. Nothing of interest. Let's get my key back so that I don't have to find it later.
Makes sense.
So, why he did it first thing off a save and quit. Just to save the future problems. And with book in hand, can check Desert Main here. So it's unfortunate for Lynn that he's sort of done. He really put off doing Kakariko hard, but seems to have done everything else except for Eastern area, which slightly unfortunate.
Yeah, having that nice mobility option with the flute is handy when it's early.
And we find the last way into Turtle Rock. So that's count them, 4 entrances to Turtle Rock so far.
Small castle tower, 50 rupees. Small
Andy's laser
park
skips are a thing of beauty.
Oh, they're wonderful. And a single rupee.
No, hanging around waiting for the right moment. He has that first cycle laser skip for just down like it's nothing. Lynn, presumably scared of crabs, going for the slow strats there. And finds a fairy and says, "Yes, please, I would like some tea." And
it's nice to know that the fairies today are giving out fairies.
Yeah, feels a bit, I don't know, evil. Handing out, their younger brothers and sisters. Like, here you go.
I mean,
Andy finding
you want to keep your younger brother and sister, really.
Andy finding the 50 rupee farm, unsurprisingly not interested.
Shocker.
And Andy now finds Pod with a whole bunch more keys than Lynn had when Lynn was here. We'll see if he
Takes a deeper in.
Yeah, is willing to do the right side. And Lin, using some good game knowledge, running his way back over to North Hyrule via the whirlpool. Looks like Lin has also found the Old Man Rescue Cave. And here's Andy. I can't be bothered doing movement clips. I will hover to the bow side. The only thing over here is the cape, which might actually be useful. We found Bumper Cave already, so there's some non-zero chance that that's useful.
Yeah, it's nice to see that.
And Andy's off to the back of the pod. See if there's anything back here.
Just some bombs. Harmless Hellway gives us a piece of her.
I get the feeling Lin might be leaving behind that flute for a long time, so we'll see how much of a difference it makes. Frosty Plum, fortunately for the runners of Crosskeys, I don't think there's any dark rooms that it's actually useful to hover in. Other than maybe Turtle Rock without the cane, but that's a terrible, terrible hover anyway, so...
Yeah, that's an Olympic hover.
Lin falling in a hole to do dark room detection. We're getting close to having found all of the dark connectors. We haven't quite done it.
Lin saving the time of doing Checkboard Cave.
I mean, Lin's got 870 rupees and has already gone to Zora.
It was basically in the same sort of situation. Andy had, I'd say, about, I think it was 1,200 rupees, and still did Checkerboard Cave. And that is the Big Key Tower of Hera for Andy.
Which is completely useless. I mean, it's not completely useless. It opens a chest, but and actually, in Andy's mind, it's still useful because he hasn't yet deigned to do the front of his cape. Lin gonna get the bad-ish news that the Old Man Save and Quit is in Village of Outcasts and chooses to head at the back instead of going to Village of Outcasts. He might know which dark cave this is from his earlier explorations. Though I'd be surprised if he did. So that's really good news for Lin because that's going to get him his flute. He's going to do a sweep over here.
There's Ice Palace. So let's see what's in there for Lin. Because I don't think he took a dip in.
No. And with a strongly decreasing number of places to find the Moon Pearl, Lin is interested in this dip, even without a hammer or a Cane of Samaria. I assume he's only going to go as far as Pengator Room. But this item is in logic, so it might be what we're looking for. and get some bombs to
Nada.
use to kill himself with.
And Andy making the swim up to the hobo.
Lin, for reasons that aren't clear to me, having trouble with spin speed, and seems like it's not clear to him either, and eventually gives up on it, which seems reasonable, frankly.
Yeah, you don't want to get caught in that, like, sunk cost fallacy.
Ooh, Lin choosing not to go to Flute 5, which is bad for him.
Taking advantage of the potion shop.
I mean, sure, the potion shop likes the business.
Here we go.
And he also demonstrating that he knows that Fire Rod is a great weapon against with all chain guards. I apologize if y'all can hear the traffic behind me occasionally. There's a heat wave on, so my windows are open. Lin hard resetting before he gets the news about the flute on the torch after save stemming.
Oh, that's not nice.
Which is unfortunate. I'm kind of surprised he didn't do the same thing that Andy did and check the other items in there before hitting the reset button.
Hopefully we see him go back in that direction soon.
Oh, but he's got plenty of other things to distract himself with. Yeah, it looks like Andy is also going to go pay a visit to King Zora. And having yet to find the flippers, Andy can't check the Black Skullwoods there. No, Zarsign, food is very much not required. It's just...
It's a convenience item, really, especially when you find it early. It's nice to be able to route yourself so that you can do checks around.
It's, I think actually it's more helpful for Andy than it is for Lin, because Lin is, amongst the Crosskeys players that the experienced Crosskeys players, very good at sort of linking all the checks together. Whereas that's, I think, one of the few areas where one of the few weaknesses Andy has in Crosskeys is sort of the smooth chaining together of long chains of items. And so Flute sort of helps cover that up by just letting you go wherever you want, whenever you want to go there.
Now with a few more hearts, Andy's taking that rocket.
And the look on his face right now is excellent.
Those were eyes into the back of his skull.
Andy demonstrating that you don't actually take any damage from those eyes if you do it right. Unfortunately, now we get to see Lin's laser skips. So they're both in Turtle Rock, coming at it from different directions, because there are plenty of directions to come at it from so far in this seed.
Yeah, they're both kind of following what the other did about 10-15 minutes ago.
And Lynn realizes that there's no point in heading upwards after a feint in that direction. So I'm going to run over to Desert Palace Main. And after a slight quick swap fail, Lynn finds the right item and opens up Desert Palace for a grand total of nothing interesting, I believe. But, you know. And Andy getting the timing wrong on the bomb strats in Chain Jump Room, that's kind of surprising. I'm surprised. Andy looked surprised. When those strats work, they're super slick. Oh, boy. Okay.
Grabbing his other bottle.
It's a lot of work for not a lot of reward. And Lynn running back past the potion shop again. Chooses to refill on his potion again, which, again, given the giant pile of money these guys have, seems entirely reasonable. So yes, Andy's going to get his hook shot in a moment, or not. I'm not sure why Andy's doing Dark Cross before the front, but that's cool, I guess.
You know what he's feeling. He knows what he's doing, I guess.
Yeah, those of you that don't remember seeing when Lynn got hook shot on stream, that's because you didn't. That was when stream is broken. Yes. So Paradox Cave is accessible via one of the connectors out of Desert. That's fair and coherent. Other than the fact that the Dark Cross gets easier if you find cool stuff in the front. So.
And we have Ether and the big key to Misery Mire on Lynn's side in the center top of the castle.
Which I believe that Andy had to leave behind when he was up there earlier, but he does not yet have the tape. So that is a slight edge for Lynn for the foreseeable future. You could find a lamp or a sword incoherent, both of which are slightly helpful. Yeah, you're not wrong, but it still seems like a slightly odd choice. Speaking of Desert Palace stuff, there we have it. Oh, that text box. I think this is going to spit Lynn out in the mire in an unrecoverable way. Andy went back and checked Desert Palace Big. It was nothing of interest. Looks like Lynn is more interested in... Oh, he's just going to check the big chest here.
I think
totally reasonable.
Was a bottle, and Andy just skipped out on it.
I think it's a heart piece, or a full heart container, rather.
Oh, maybe.
But either way... Andy finding...
Oh, yes. It is.
Hammer pegs is news, because that means that we're a mirror away from being able to get into the well. Admittedly, via the world's most inconvenient route, but it's still worth remembering that that's there. And now Lynn's going to check the paradox connectors. Well, Andy's off to East Death Mountain. No, and Lynn's got the flute.
Yeah, Lynn got the torch earlier.
Oh, right. The desert. This paradox exit is Bumper Ledge. And then we also get and we're deep enough in, and we haven't gotten a moon pearl yet that Lynn is willing to do some bunny shenanigans, at least a bit.
Skullwoods is green pendant.
Finds Hype Cave on lower East Death Mountain, which very well could be a bunny required moon pearl, but gets lucky it's not, or gets unlucky it's not. That would actually be a really good break for Lynn if he found it there.
Yeah, Andy went into Sahasrara and got himself the mirror.
Looks like Lynn is off to go turn on his flute and presumably check a connector or something while he's over here. So that was Lynn heading up in the direction of Bumper Cave and then remembering that he should turn on his flute first.
And we get to see on top of Spectacle Rock, it's Pod, a small key.
Oh, so that's GT Big Key on Ether Tablet.
Yep.
Which is a thing. Lynn running in all directions there before remembering which way he was going. And mirror in hand, Andy's back off to the Dark World via the castle, in particular to the ledge here, which is only accessible this way. Unfortunately, it's nothing. But it does get a couple of oddball tricks out of the way. Smooth Jedi, Agate 2
Got sick, kid.
Is likely, almost certainly not required. It's useless fairy, but there is some non-zero chance. There are some complicated corner cases that I can't really track through on comms where you might need to do it just for the warp. But a GT climb is certainly can still certainly be on the books. Just be an item up there somewhere. And both runners, I'm sure, are super excited about running through desert 6 times this race. But it's one of their best connectors.
Yeah, it's not that much fun.
Nobody's favorite connector. But with mirror in hand, here they both are.
Hot on each other's tail.
Lynn hasn't been here before, so at least he gets to check these other entrances while he's at it. And it saves some routing efficiency. Unfortunately, they both, totally made the reasonable play to come over here, and nothing doing so far.
Yeah, nothing paying off yet. Ooh, a validation chest seed would be nice. Well, there is Mimic Cave.
Which would be totally in logic if they had a hammer, which they don't. But, this bunny traversal is... Yeah, Goomba reminding me that Aga 2 Free Stark World is not in logic. And I don't think it's likely to be practically required either. Eternal September, it just, you flood the dam and it's just flooded forever.
Andy flying on into the back of desert.
We can't have Pearl inside the pyramid today, Goomba, due to the inside of the pyramid being useless. There's also some weird logic around the Hyrule Castle main entrance, which is mirror locked if Ganon is at the Uncle Drop, which is a random fact that never comes up, so I'm going to use it here.
And now we're going to see what small key is on the end of race game.
Yeah, so both runners have now reached the point with a mirror and having basically fully cleared out the light world, up to some minor details. Both runners are interested in this bunny loop of of South Dark World. Lynn finding the fast way to somewhere. Hey, it's somewhere else down here. I wouldn't be surprised to see him continue. Yeah.
Yeah, through Dark World a bit. Nice to check.
Well, I mean, he was already in the Dark World, but he's basically going to do the same sweep, but from the other direction. But it does save him the walk back through that connector. Andy makes the opposite choice. It's Prim from Secret of Mana, Frosty Clone. The only reason I know that is we argued about it before the race started in commentator chat. So Lynn has now walked all the way back over to almost where that connector started from.
We'll see what's in K45. Not a thing today.
And Andy now signing up for the same connector. We'll get the same slightly disappointing result. But with a few more keys in hand, Lynn is back in pod. This is a slightly interesting choice, in that a lot of this stuff will be out of logic until even more keys are found. Now that doesn't matter very much to the runner, but means that, for instance, his Moon Pearl is unlikely to be in the 6 key lock chests. And so Andy is actually choosing to do more Dark World Overworld checks as a bunny, rather than make this play.
I mean, I don't fault him for it. It makes sense to know where you should be going once you do get the Moon Pearl.
Oh yeah, no, it's they're both of these choices I think are defensible. It's just
He's gonna read
which one are you more
on the
interested in? And Andy finds nothing in particular on this tablet, so take that off the list. That choke point as a bunny is a bit cruel. Like, well, I guess you just take a robot to the face. Yeah, so an hour into the race, roughly. Not quite, but, you know, maybe we can talk about this for 3.5 minutes. The runners have no swords, no Moon Pearl, and no bow. And no hammer.
Yeah, it's not pretty. They got some nice things at the beginning, but a sword, Moon Pearl, hammer, those would all be very, very nice to see now. And being an hour in, it's a little disappointing.
Yeah. Tom will talk. They cannot get the cane without the pearl, or without some serious shenanigans, which I think are against the rules. Because cane on Hylia Island, and bunnies can't swim. No, they're bunnies. They flounder helplessly. Yes, incoherent. There are. It's possible. It's a giant pain in the butt. You're both right. It is possible to get to the island in the rules, but it is not. It is a setup. So Andy's back to running through desert again, and you know what Lynn's up to? He's running through desert.
Running through dirt.
Andy, for some reason, goes across the middle. I think he probably checked his notes wrong and went to the wrong exit, because the fast way to go around the edge is the fast way from right to left is around the edge.
Doing the big chest again. I guess he's getting some more love. Just safe. He may have marked it wrong and just forgot, but it makes sense if he just wants a little bit of extra health.
I mean, I assume that that's just a I'm running through here anyway, I might as well get a heart move. Unlike Lynn, he hasn't checked this main entrance, which spits out some actually useful things. The key to Mire, known to be required, so that's a nice check. And then he can check his spawn connectors while he's here. Lynn choosing to check the bottom of Paradox first, rather than continue on down the Murderdactyl murder route. So in addition to a lot of running through desert and a lot of other things, I feel like this seed has had way more than its fair share of actually stopping and talking to the fairies. Not that I object to that, I think it's just kind of funny. Bug that at Spec Rock, and Lynn chooses to jump down the middle to get these two hard to get entrances out of the way. And Lynn finds GT.
Yes. So good to take a little peek in here.
With no hammer, can't go further to the left. Only gets to do 2 checks to the right. But they might be good ones. Yep.
And it is. There we go.
That counts as a good one. So now the world is our oyster.
Andy getting that bug net.
Gotta do some cover shenanigans. But you're Andy.
Yeah, any opportunity.
And we'll see if this distracts him. Andy deciding if he's interested in being here or being interested, and in bunny form, can't hover his way back across the gap, and deciding if he wants to go back in and check the third exit to Spec Rock, and decides to do a North Darkworld bunny loop, and therefore hovers his way out of having a moon pearl.
Ouch.
Lin using the giant arrow to remember where to shoot his hookshot. Andy, with mirror in hand, at least gets to super bunny his way into many of these caves.
Lin finding the dam. So that opens up access to Swamp Palace.
Yeah. And with no hammer, it's not super exciting yet, but a good tick mark to have off the to-do list.
One's hut over on Andy's side.
Mine's
We got a bow.
And unfortunately, bunnies can't use bombs, but they can bonk. But that's not a bonkable wall. And so Andy has to leave the back of Blind's hut behind.
But I'm sure he's feeling good about that bow.
And Lin, remembering that he knows where Hype Cave is, with the Moon Pearl in hand, is off to go check it.
Just a second, Agate Tower small key in there.
I mean, just a second Agate Tower small key is understanding the case, given that that's a hard required item in this seed.
Yeah.
Lin finally giving us a map check. Finds a whole bunch of crystals on his map, so that's a thing. So Lin now gets to do this. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying that all we're really missing now is just one more bit of knowledge for the last pendant, and we will know where everything's to.
Lin gets to show off that if you have a moon pearl, you get to run around and pick up bushes and all kinds of shenanigans in the Dark World. We'll see how long it takes Andy to get back to through that fairly long chain of shenanigans to find GT. Hope Room in GT, which is the entrance behind the rocks on East Death Mountain. Lin finding a convenient half magic right there. It's nice to have, and also gets him a magic refill, which
It's welcomed.
yeah, and Andy's likely to leave that behind forever, so that's a marginal advantage for Linlinlin. Andy, not deigning to use his hook shot on those mini mold arms, just gets bodied. Fair enough. And Lin off via Whirlpool to Shopping Mall. We'll see if there's any good shops over here today.
I gotta refresh real quick. My stream is buffering.
Well, Andy is going to be happy in a moment. Or rather sad, because he left this behind. But an hour and 6 minutes, both the runners can go to the Dark World.
And do things. Isn't that exciting?
You know it's a low health seed when an hour in, Andy's still willing to get a heart container, or a heart piece. Lynn switching to the stylish blue pantsuit. Eastern Fawa, which Andy is boycotting in classic Crosskeys fashion. Lynn setting up water walk there, which is nicely done. He has to be careful not to bonk anywhere on the way to picking up his cane on the island here. Looks like Andy is
Getting his half magic, yep.
interested in getting back from this one check. I expect to see Lynn take the other whirlpool. No, just going back up north for catfish. Draco Crowley, Eastern. Which Andy still can't complete and is in the traditional Crosskeys mode of ignoring it until he can. Just a bit surprising given how long they were scrabbling for the Moon Pearl.
Yeah, leaving those couple of checks behind is something that you would have expected he would have dipped back in for.
I didn't notice this on Lynn's stream, but Andy found the other half of Brothers Connector, and they found the other half. They both found the other half of that while they were bunnying around.
Yeah.
So it leads to from nowhere in particular to nowhere in particular, and so neither one of them's even interested in following it. Tenerin, he hovered to get to Pod Right, and he hovered across Spectacle Rock Cave and hurt himself because he skipped Moon Pearl for another 10 minutes or something. No, it looks like Andy is interested in taking this connector at this point. It's actually a fairly fast way to get around the Dark World if it's going to where you want to go next. So. Alright, this takes us right to Hype. Right, takes him right to Hype Cave. And actually, I don't know if Andy ever did get there as a bunny, now that I think about it. Nope, certainly didn't, because he would have talked to this guy. And Lynn goes to Catfish, comes back, does Spiral Cave for nothing good.
So now they're both suited up with both their keys for Mega Tower. And the Swamp Palace big key was found by Lynn, which is nice to have.
So Lynn knows that this is 2 and 3 to be a pendant, but is willing to go and do it anyway. Which makes sense. Alasun, don't tell Lynn that he thinks he can hover as good as Andy can. Yeah, it's the hover net. It's extra swaggy today because Andy had to hover to get it. So I only watched most of the VOD for Game 1, Blib. Do you want to give us a summary of what happened? I hear it was a good race.
Oh my goodness. It was really fun. It was really close. They were kind of bouncing back and forth, as you see in a lot of cross keys, where you can't really call for a winner. I'm trying to remember now what it was that really put Andy ahead in the end, but I can't quite recall, unfortunately. But it was really good, and you couldn't really call it until the last 15-20 minutes.
So I'm a little bit surprised to see Andy in Skullwood Sphere. Not just because Skullwoods is kind of dodgy, but he knows where the cane is. That previous room is much easier. Pantsu General, the cane is on Halikaili Island. And Andy certainly knows how to, get into the water in the Dark World as a bunny, so he can do it as a pug. So I'm kind of surprised he's doing this before he goes and gets his cane.
And with flippers inside Eastern Palace, Andy probably won't be seeing those until there is a big key in his hand.
Lynn going for the I can't be bothered being clever dig pattern here.
I think it's truly artwork. I like these connect the dots.
And Andy members check Skullwood 3 for nothing of interest. So I believe that this Skullwoods dip has so far generated not a lot. And with the book in hand, Andy chooses to make the same pedestal check that Lynn did earlier. Pod big on Stumpy is an overall check that I'm sure Andy will get to sooner or later, but maybe not soon. And Andy in pantsuit form, covering over checks that Andy earlier made as a bunny rabbit. So the hint there, that's the compass to Swamp Palace. So if you are a little lost person, you can open your map and it'll tell you where Argus is. Not particularly useful in Crosskeys, I think. Even with the added functionality of telling you how many items we've got in the swamp, which I think they also know how to do. Lynn had chosen not to do these bunny checks earlier, or these checks earlier when he was a bunny. So now has to come back around here. Andy setting up Kern Jump. Nicely done. The game there is to get, as with most fake flippers, is to get through the screen transition on the first frame. And that edge is too far away, and so you use a bomb to get there.
Vanilla Rando. And we have found Misery Mire on Lynn's side.
I wonder how interested Lynn is in going in there.
Not yet.
Yeah, we're a little surprised by that.
Maybe soon.
He's got fire. He's got big key. He's got cane. He's got hookshot though, so this is even better than it would be otherwise. When yeah, Vitreous is kind of a pain with none of them swords, none of them hammers, but you can do a fair number of things in Misery Mire. Also, the sword's got to be somewhere, I think.
Yeah,
that's the rules, right? Do you remember exactly how? Oh, it's Hyrule Castle that leads to Hammer Pegs. Yeah. We'll see if Lynn finds that interesting at any point.
Back into the tower.
That was nice connector usage by Lynn.
Finally
sort of got spat out at the mountain and realized that he was right next to GT with additional stuff, so might as well do this while he's here. And Andy will shortly be getting his flippers.
Yeah, I'm not sure he's really excited about that. Knowing that it's been open to him for so long.
Yep. Nothing like Sphere Zero checks you haven't done yet. You know, I understand why runners leave it behind, but it's a really high downside play, right? You spend 2 minutes to make sure you don't lose a bunch of time. Or you don't, right? It's 4 really long checks.
Yeah, and if it doesn't pay out, then it's, you know, it's a big disappointment. We have silvers inside GT and bombos. We have all medallions now on Lynn's side.
And as far as Lynn's concerned, that's just a bow, because they've gotten different bows so far. The swords are certainly somewhere. They also need to beat Aga, and so. But those swords, it's entirely possible. For instance, if there's any 5-item caves left, for the swords to all be behind the vanilla Aga GT entry, for instance. Oh, I'm sorry. I shake my fist at our tracker very slightly, and then I thank our trackers for their good work. But our tracker's command is broken, so too bad.
Did the bot break when it broke earlier, I guess?
Apparently. And Lynn showing off his shiny silver arrows.
Small key to rock and nothing of interest.
On the other hand, with a hammer on the right, we can now go left.
To the left. Yeah.
So it turns out that while Aghanim is vulnerable to bug nets and assorted other things, the swords are hard required for cutting down curtains. At this point, Hamal, Lynn is substantially ahead. Satis, at least one of his qualifiers did not go very well.
Oh, these GT checks are paying out. I'm liking this.
It's so many. I mean, there's 23 locations in GT Basement, and even if you have to leave that one behind because you don't have enough keys, the odds of something good being in here are pretty good.
And he finally getting his Canis Maria.
That's why the flips really hurt. I mean, you can get there with various fake flipper shenanigans, but Canis Maria is such a useful item that he's not happy about leaving that behind. There's sword number 1 for Lynn.
That is nice. Nice.
And validation arrow. Looks like Lynn is not interested in going upstairs because he cannot get there. So an hour and 20 minutes in, Lynn finally gets Link's first starter sword.
Turns in that mushroom.
And I think this is
The potion shop check, maybe?
yeah.
Yeah.
I know the well check. Bonk. 5 items in here. So Lynn is ahead in that he has more stuff. Andy has done an assortment of other checks that happen to not pay out, and I think that, for instance, going back to GT is a totally reasonable thing for Andy to do, basically at any time. And so it's just a question of, does the seed lead him astray? Does he make the choices that get him GT? And does he find the things that are necessary that he doesn't have, or that Lynn doesn't have? What is Lynn missing? Lynn's missing sword number 2.
Potentially ice rod.
50, half an ice rod. And Eastern Palace Big Key. And potentially Turtle Rock Big Key. GT is the entrance behind the rocks on East Mountain, and Aga is required because Ganon is at Lumberjack Drop. And so Lynn is with a sword in hand and an assortment of fairly good stuff, down to just clearing stuff out. And with Red Mail and Thieves Town, I'm pretty sure in the light world, these crickets just don't do any damage at all. Quarter heart or whatever.
And we'll see now if there's anything worth finding inside Thieves Town other than the instead of just the oh my goodness, my brain, the crystal.
And we were commenting earlier that this game was giving us all the rupees and none of the hearts. That's sort of evened up now. We're still stinking rich, but some health and some red mail has turned up. So at this point, I don't expect either runner to be in any sort of health issues for the rest of the time.
Yeah, it's always rough starting with starting a Crosskeys seed. It always seems like there's not enough health for quite some time, and then once you start getting it, then it's, okay, well, I don't need this anymore. Could you give me something useful, please?
Yeah, there's... I think you just run into hard stuff earlier in Crosskey Siege than you do in most races. I'm not entirely sure what...
Now we have our MITS checks open to us on Lin's side.
That blind fight did not go according to plan. I mean, it wasn't horrible for Lin, which surprised me a bit. And yeah, MITs are available. In some ways, you'd rather not see them, because now you have a bunch more entrances to worry about and so on.
Yeah, life without the MITS checks is nice, but with so much still that they're looking for, kind of, having it is not bad.
Andy finding the Skullwoods Big Key in Ice Palace. Fetch quest, but you do. Has to leave behind that room because of lack of hammer. This is sort of a really painful dive to do without the hammer. On the other hand, Mire's a fine place to be. Fighter Sword Vitreous is nobody's idea of a good time, but it's doable, especially with half magic and the rest of the stuff that Lin has. Oh, and silvers.
Yeah,
and
silver is a much easier fight.
And with the there's enough checks in here that actually, and we're down to a few enough checks in the game, there's a non-zero chance that a sword or two turns up in here as well.
And there is a sword.
Promise that the stream is not delayed enough for me to just be pretending like I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, it's just a commentator's curse of saying, so this is something that would be handy, and then it shows up.
Alright, so what has to happen in Andy's mind for Andy to catch up? I don't know.
Yeah, he still has a lot to lead him astray. And I'm not sure if he's going to point himself in the direction of GT anytime soon.
Yeah. What was that?
Getting out the shovel.
Going to go to the shovel check. So, Andy ran over there and left the mirror portal behind before fluting away. I assume that was deliberate, but I don't know why. Maybe I'll become enlightened in a moment. Yes, Lin's done Stumpy. There's a big key or something there. Something actually good.
It was a big key to pod, I believe.
Your memory works in a different way than mine. I file checks as things that matter and things that don't, and beyond that, my memory doesn't care. There's a...
I'm so new to this, so it's like, the things that I remember could be completely irrelevant, or could actually be important, but it's only like 1 out of 5 things I will be able to recall at all. On a good day.
So Din was saying that that opens up the GT climb, which is fair enough, or nominally if Lin finds the GT big key, which is the one item that Andy does have that Lin doesn't. But Lin's not going to go back to the GT climb until at least after Ice and Aga and Swamp and Pod and yeah.
Everything, yes. Everything.
So amongst other places, Andy needs to go to GT. which is pretty close to here. So it might happen. Andy is likely about to full clear, or at least clear, Tower of Hera, which will give us, the commentators, information about whether or not he needs to do Tower of Hera.
Lane logic is something that nobody, I think, cares to pay attention to. It's something that's often disregarded when it comes to actually making choices on checks. Something to keep in mind, but not something that actually stops them from going anywhere.
So, Incoherent very correctly reminding me that Andy cannot do Hera unless there's a sword in here, because he doesn't have any way to hurt Mulborb.
Oh no.
That's miserable. Let's see if he gets saved by the checks he can do.
I mean, there's still 2 swords kicking around somewhere.
Andy going for jamming his face into the pot strats for doing Hera pot, which gets a second try, which is still way faster than doing the bomb strats. Does it look silly? Yes. Is it awesome? Also yes.
And we have our powder.
Which is another thing that Andy can go do, that
Whip him away from GT for however long.
there's an item that Lynn definitely needs. Eastern Big Key at the pod vanilla Big Key location, which means that somewhere out there's another pod small, but that's fine.
It looks like Andy actually has all 6.
Alright, so it is out there somewhere. Darn if I know which one of those 6 Lynn doesn't have, but Lynn don't care. Lynn getting the news off of a last-minute map that he does need to do Turtle Rock, which is disappointing for him. Andy is loading up on arrows. I guess when you don't have any good weapons, and you do have a bow, you can go visit the capacity fairy a few times.
Fair enough.
Choice you could make. Doesn't come up very often, but Lynn using torch strats here to avoid having to do those guys completely in the dark. Let's watch, see how clean Lynn's Helmosaur is. Pretty slick. Doing straight hammer strats, no holding out his sword, which is slightly faster to get it perfect. And a single silver arrow to the head. Crystal number 1, 2, 3. Nice tunes. Lynn's MSU pack is.
I'm liking these dungeon tunes on this MSU. So I feel I know it might be too soon to tell because Ice Rod is still a hunt that very much is happening. But I feel confident that we're going to get a third match out of this. I want it.
It seems pretty likely. Lin is in Ice Rod hunt mode. But he's got things to do for at least the next 10-15 minutes. Maybe not that long. Before that becomes a thing. Taking a shortcut across Lake Hylia. Which is not something you see very often, but turns out to be entirely correct here.
In the Eastern Palace run, smart for Lin to be doing, and Andy running into Meyer, which is, turns out, not GT, which is where he really needs to go.
I mean, presumably, Andy knows that with 45 arrows he can beat Fitch.
Yeah. He knows he can beat him. Just, it would be so much nicer to have everything else that GT has to offer before he comes here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, GT right is hard required. I think GT left was also good. So, you get a fighter sword. I don't expect to see him use the fighter sword against Andrea. At least not much. But he'll be happy to see his first sword, I'm sure. My lip reading skills are yes, I mean, it's certainly the case that Andy's win probability, you know, if we want to talk about it in baseball terms, is not very many percents, right? But
not right now, no.
I don't think it's zero yet. It's bad. This game, but this game is not completely over, but it's working its way to it. Andy's odds are way worse than drawing trips. That's great. I think. Goomba, I think, has a good hypo for how Andy has a chance. Pedestal's not a thing. It is a swamp compass. Turns out when they give the runners a book early, they just go and read the darn pedestal.
It's nice to know that it's really a good strategy to go take a look and see, do I have to ever come back here?
Lin, with a whole bunch of bottles and running past here again, he does some more potion shopping. I think that's his 4th or 5th potion of the game out of the potion shop. Good repeat custom.
This is his 3rd visit, at least, into the potion shop to buy.
Well, I mean, that time he was also checking the item, which was not anything of interest, but. And with big and small keys, Lin doesn't have to fuss about going and hitting the crystal switch. That Icebreaker didn't go perfect. Just the Ice Rod, Tanbury. Unless the Ice Rod is behind it, but he does have to go do Aga at some point, Aga 1, which is presumably on his to-do list after this. Ganon is behind Aga 1. Looks like Blibberal's internet just fell apart, so she'll hopefully be back in a bit. So you guys got to talk to me and keep me company while she reboots. All right, let's see. 45 arrow Vitreous. Yes, this is game 2 of a best of 3, and Andy is up a game. So at some point there will be a game 3. I don't believe it is yet scheduled. And it looks like Andy bought 10 too many arrows, but you know, having a little bit of reserve is a feature. And Lynn using the rarely seen, I mean, nowadays you see it way more often than you used to, technique of going through the Ice Palace key door. Brought to you by Icebreaker. Is this Andy off to Ganon's Tower? Or did the things he found in Mire change his mind? They did it at least a little bit. Gonna go do some more Turtle Rock checks. I don't think that's true, Onilink. Certainly it didn't help that he put off the Moon Pearl for a bit, but this is just a sort of stylistic choice or routing choice to put off the 20 items in GT. I mean, it's really only 8 on GT right side that he's putting off, which is not nothing, but and it happens to be the right answer, but they've also been, like, they also were bunnying around to find the Moon Pearl. They both were doing it, and if you're bunnying around to find the Moon Pearl, you super bunny and check blind spot, right? Like, that's not, I don't think, a controversial move at all.
Okay, I'm back, sir.
Welcome back to the internet. It's great here. Lynn, it turns out, is doing Swamp before he does Aga, which is reasonable.
Okay, I finally got the stream back up.
Welcome. Sorry, I was awaiting your insightful commentary when you got back on the internet. Lynn is busy clearing out things that he can clear out. Andy is busy running around, doing stuff. Andy apparently has forgotten how to get to Hammer Pikes, which means that he didn't write it down. And will shortly get there, because it's Power Castle left.
He uses a spreadsheet for his notes. That's it. He doesn't actually have a map tracker that he uses.
I'm not sure if his publicly available. Yes, his notes are actually available, and they say the right thing on it. He just apparently cannot read.
Oh.
There's sword number 3 for Lynn in the back of Swamp. So Andy said before he did Meyer that he was going to do GT after he did Meyer. Apparently has since changed his mind. People were complaining about lamp logic a while ago. There's the lamp.
Wow. That's quite bothersome.
Andy on his 6th or 8th trip through Desert Palace as a connector. I'm sure he's super happy about that. But does not yet have conventional Dark World access. And so off we go.
And Argus is pretty quick.
Two-cycle Argus final stage with the silver arrows. I don't know if you could do it in one, but minor detail. Lynn is still on Ice Rod Hunt. Does still have a dungeon that he needs to complete that he can. So next stop, Aga Tower. And with the lamp conveniently turning up, Lynn saves himself having to do the Aga Tower dark rooms in the dark.
Yeah, it's definitely nice to find that right before going to Aga. Other dark rooms are more manageable. Aga is just kind of a nuisance.
Lynn remembering to check Mimic Cave while he's in the area. Gets a fire shield, which is not nothing. And Andy receives an item of no interest and a red pendant for his troubles.
Finally going into Ganon's Tower, where he is needed to be for, I don't know, 20 minutes, half an hour?
I mean, there are arguments. I'd like to ask him about it if he's going to come do an interview. Why GT got put off so long? Lynn literally, I think, entirely accidentally found a connector that led him next to GT, and he was like, "Well, do it while we're here." Right? If that is efficient routing. There's a bunch of checks in here, and I'm here anyway. Let's do it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Without finding that connector, I don't know how long it takes Lynn to make that play. Game has some. This soundtrack that Lynn is using has some epic music.
Oh, it's fantastic.
I feel like this music might be a little bit too epic for Aga Tower, to be honest, but it's dope. Arcana and the SCV, because we very carefully wrote code to make sure that they don't. Is the short answer. There are no logic settings where they just randomize stuff anywhere you want. Those settings, you generally need glitches to beat them, but actually some high fraction of them are actually completable if you know all of the ways to break Link to the Past. GT was not full cleared. He does not have the big key.
Getting his silvers, getting his bombos, getting his mushroom.
Oh yeah, he also skipped Fireball Room for keys purposes. The code for randomizer for the entrance randomizer is available on GitHub in Python if you want to read it yourself. Phyllis, welcome to your small rowboat of raiding party. This is 2 hours into a Crosskeys race. Lynn is way ahead, but he needs to find the ice rod. Andy is finally doing the thing that he reasonably or unreasonably was putting off for some time.
And there is the hammer.
Andy remembered to pick up some arrows on his way down to Ice Armos, given that he used freaking heaps of them on the trees a while ago.
But now with the silvers, this is quick work.
Yeah. Hammer's a good find, and just like Lynn, Andy is going to, having found the hammer, do left. I did enjoy Andy doing the lesser-known strat of actually doing the maze in the room before Ice Armos. Doesn't come up very often. Nice stun strats by Andy on the stealth hosts there. And reminding me of one of the reasons why left side was also necessary, because the GT big key is over here. Oh, sorry, the Thieves Town big key is over here. Alright. Now Lynn is down to proper ice rod hunting. Checking the entrances he hasn't yet, etc. Oh, and getting these while he's here.
Yeah, checking Tower Hera isn't a bad idea for Lynn.
There's a bunch of checks in here. He doesn't have the Hera small, so he can't go take a coffee break.
Nope. Instead, we'll be bouncing back and forth here until finally getting into the pot.
Yeah, that... I mean... Still faster than walking up the stairs, I think.
Oh, definitely.
Yes, both runners know they need Ice Rod because they both know that Turtle Rock is a crystal. This Moldarm fight will be slightly more trivial for Lynn than it was for Andy. Not that it's the hardest boss fight in the game to begin with, given that he has a bit more sword than Andy did when he was here. And knowing
Maybe
that
Ice Rod.
that was checked. And Lynn doing a ceremonial dive off of the Moldarm platform, knowing that Pedestal's dead. When checking entrances, I assume that he's tracking which item caves he hasn't yet found, and knows that there's a few more out there somewhere. Hence bothering to open up Turtle Rock main. Andy has the Turtle Rock, the GT Big Key, though it's not. Oh, sorry. Andy knows where the GT Big Key is. It's on Ether Tablet, which Andy knows and Lynn does not. Sorry, which Andy knows but still can't actually get. But here is Lynn about to get bit. Oh, he does? Did? Okay. Hey, trackers. And he got another sword.
Oops. And GT Big Key is now possible.
Yeah, we'll see how excited Lynn is about going back and doing that. Not tremendously is my. There's other things on the to-do list. No worries, Sammy. Things is happening all the time. Totally sure where Lynn's going.
Yeah, catfish was a small key for something, I believe.
Oh, right. He checked this while he was a bunny. Without a mirror, so I had no easy way to super bunny there. Then doing the bat check. I expect to see probably the Smith chain after this.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's near enough.
I think Lynn feels pretty good. Lynn's the Pearl location was obviously terrible for everybody. So, Hauria, one of the unfortunate or fortunate things of cross keys is that there's a lot of ice rods, and so most seeds come down to an ice rod of some description.
Go mode is always an ice rod.
Now it's a freaking sword.
Nice.
Sometimes it's some item that actually locks a bunch of the game, but there's a lot of items in cross keys that only lock a couple of things. And so therefore can be almost anywhere. And to some extent that's why cross keys is interesting, because most seeds are sort of the same sort of completion percentage. The high. It's not the case you can just get lucky and all the items fall into your lap. Nobody has turned in the big bomb yet. No.
No, there's been no big bomb. Sahasrahla is still an option for maybe what we're looking for, or validation chest. All of those things would make me happy.
I apparently failed to note that they got spat out of Pyramid Fairy, but chat has corrected me, so I don't have to go there.
Oh, whoops.
So, Lynn playing silly buggers with Skullwoods, throwing himself in holes over and over again. Angelo, Lynn is substantially ahead, but he's hunting for the ice rod.
Yeah, Andy has a chance to catch up here. It just depends on luck of who checks for the ice rod first.
Yeah, I mean, Andy still needs to find some things, but I think most of the things that he needs to find are, other than the ice rod, which who the heck knows where it is, are along his route.
Yeah, he's not going to be too sidetracked if he keeps going the clearing strategy that he's doing, then it should be okay for him.
Andy's a naughty boy and forgot to turn off all of his notifications. Somebody just bought some coffee. Left side swamp was skipped by Lynn. Head's been checked by both runners like an hour ago.
Hoping
I think
to find what he needs, Lynn is going back in Turtle Rock.
I mean, Andy has other outs that basically come down to him choosing to do things in a much especially different order than Lynn does. Andy slightly missing the diver down setup there, but gets it on the second try. Lynn about to be disappointed with this next room.
Yeah, this isn't going to be exciting at all. This is a real compass room.
I'm not sure what's next on Lynn's to-do list here. That looks like shovel check.
Looks like dig spot, yeah. And Lynn also had the book out before doing shovel check, so I wasn't sure if Lynn was gonna go check the other tablet. No, not. Apparently not.
So there's a non-zero chance that that Andy goes straight back in here and does left side, which is a pretty common play. It does make diver down less effective, but looks like he's following in Lynn's footsteps, unfortunately for him, and leaving behind, or potentially unfortunately for him, and leaving behind left side swamp. Looks like Lynn is off upstairs.
Makes sense. Yeah, Big Chest GT is an option.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that Lynn skipped it. It's a long way to go for one check.
Yeah, if the climb doesn't pay off, then maybe dip back in for the check.
And as chat's pointing out, it's actually 2 checks because he had to leave behind Firebar Room. Andy turned up the Thievestown small key at some point along here, and so one of the outs for Andy is Thievestown Big Chest.
Yep, that would give him a leg up.
Lynn too cool to powder the anti-fairy there. Using nice boss strats to line up on Landmo there, and then almost duffs the 1 second. It's the second time Lynn's just fallen off one of the invisible bridges. I feel like you could, if you could do all the fancy tricks and this and that and the next thing, you should know where the bridges are.
He ran before he walked.
Yeah. Alright, so here's Andy's one-outer.
Just
No
mere
good.
shield. Nothing worthwhile. Hopefully...
And Lin correctly has his heartbeat set on slow. Haha! Lin doing fake powder to actually fake powder something.
Whoa!
Sorry, doing fake powder with the powder to actually powder something. And then takes a fall on Moldorm too. So it turns out that fake powder is not a particularly well-named trick on account of you could do it with the powder, but details.
I'm trying to think of how Andy might be able to redeem this still. If he took a risk on... Oh, let me see. If he took a risk on Skull Woods and Green Pendant paid off, that might be a chance.
Yep. Unfortunately, he's not, he's doing the right thing, which is to do the things that he knows how to do. That he knows that he can do before he goes and gambles and stuff. So we're gonna see him do stuff we've seen already for the next 10 minutes or so. Yeah. And Lin heading straight back to the basement, knowing that he doesn't have to beat Aga 2. He didn't get warped away, and so he could just mirror back down and go check the basement. And they've done a lot of dipping of various dungeons in this game.
Yeah, they really have.
Lin remembering not to do, not to head towards Rando Room, because did that already. I believe the Spike Cave is on the list of caves we have not yet seen.
Yeah, we haven't. That one is one that we are missing. Alright, so Ice Rod is not in GT.
Someone probably, Aga, the pyramid hole behind, which is opened up by defeating Aga 2, is known to be useless. And he's cleared out, so that's 27 out of 27 for items in GT. Looks like Lin is off to go beat Moth for 2 items. Lin has not done Smith Chain. Somewhat surprisingly to me. I know where the Smith is. The Smith's in Kakariko, so it's not even somewhere utterly terrible. So it's a little bit surprising that they've done that. Every mirror check you can think of has been done, Tenbury. They did those checks before they found the Moon Pearl. The Moon Pearl was super late this seed, and so they bunny walked through all the mirror checks, and et cetera, et cetera.
Alright, let's see if this green pendant pays off.
Also, beating Mako does not take very long, so This is actually 2 relatively fast checks, presumably probably faster than left side swamp.
Yeah, that last GT small.
Andy now with the big key in hand doesn't have to go back and hit the crystal switch. This is Andy's second dip in here, but he didn't have the hammer the first time, so he couldn't pick up this chest. Did Andy win? No, they're still racing, mate.
He won the first match, but it's still a little while before we get the winner of the second match.
And here's Smith Chain for Lynn. Also Lynn. It's a. There was nothing in Desert right?
No, it was Canaberna.
Right. That small key is logically required to defeat Lanmo, but not that that's particularly interesting at the moment. But amusingly deep in the logic. Both of them save scummed after stealing the desert back key, the desert small key from the back. Lynn presumably doing so because he knew that Andy would. Andy's an inveterate key stealer, and he didn't want to have the downside risk there.
And now to run away with the purple chest. Andy beating up Cold Stare to get his crystal.
And has a very thinky look on its face.
Heard
and
that.
having beaten Ega, the overworld enemies are slightly more obnoxious than they otherwise would be on this purple chest delivery.
This must be Sahasrahla. Must be.
Lily Fen, somebody in chat is convinced we got spat out there earlier. I missed it, but some connector is the answer.
Yeah, Desert has been scummed, so Desert has been fully accounted for.
Futon, he is not, which you can tell because there's no picture of Aga in his tracker. Lynn off to do coffee break room. Angelo, pretty close to the S at this point. It's not Hera Basement. Andy's done Hera Basement. Andy needs to do a bunch of stuff still. And also has scratched less lottery tickets than Lynn does. So he has more ways to not find the Ice Rod than Lynn does. I swear we need a tracker in the corner for what pedestal is, amongst other questions that come up approximately every 12 seconds.
Yeah, really?
I don't
Start
blame.
a counter at least.
I don't blame people, but it's just a little box in the corner, like with a picture of the pedestal.
You must beat the game to get to Norfair.
Krupa Swamp.
Oh yeah, left side swamp.
Alright, Lynn's back to get Turtle Rock big. Jeez. It's the second time I've done that tonight. Thieves Town Big Chest. I am good at using words. I know all the best words. I don't know where Spike Cave can be that they haven't checked. That they can check before beating the game. Because they've gotten all of the really obnoxious entrances.
And nothing from Sahasrahla. There is... Yeah, this is just a race. This is just a race to see who gets that ice rod first, who's gonna look.
And I'm fairly sure it's... So, unless I've missed an entrance or two, I think Spike Cave is at GT Vanilla entrance. So, because I think they've literally done every other entrance in the game.
But they can't... They wouldn't be able to get into GT
Right,
Vanilla.
and so the ice rod can't be there. So that... It's like Lynn is down to the 2 checks on left side swamp. The chat is telling me that we've seen Spike Cave somewhere. I mean, if this is basically the last location, and I think it is, it's still a pretty good time, especially given how dreadful the Moon Pearl location was. I think Andy managed to check both tablets while he still didn't have the Moon Pearl. Moon Pearl was Hope Room in GT, which is the entrance behind the rocks on Eastet Mountain, which there's a convoluted way to get there. Yeah, diver down after you've cleared the dungeon the first time doesn't help.
No.
Oh.
Left side swamp.
Goomba standing to the side of righteousness and clearing out left side swamp. I approve. You guys fight amongst yourselves. Sorry, Liberal, I interrupt.
Oh, it's okay. It's left side swamp is a big gamble, especially when you know who you're going up against. You don't want to take the painful detour and get nothing from left side swamp. Where are we going?
Alright. Well, hopefully Lim knows. I've commentated enough races where runners got lost, so... Lynn really never checked that entrance? Really? Lynn has seen the bug net. From the peak entrance. Alright. And here's Spike Cave. So whoever said it was at Fairy Cephalopod, 100 magic internet points for you. Man, boomerang strats in GT, when people that are really good at them, are aesthetically pleasing.
Last location. Spike Cave is Ice Rod. Oh my goodness.
I'm kind of surprised that Spike Cave was further down Lynn's to-do list than some of the other places he did. It was kind of awkward to get to, but not that bad. And now we're off to go fight Trinex. With the hammer as late as it was, they it's sort of understandable that they didn't get Spike Cave at the time, and it was not near any other things. Just oh well.
Lynn is being denied by those anti-fairies.
Thank you, chat, for not making me have to say mean things about what's going on here. Right, Lynn has been clearly ahead for a substantial part of this seed, and as long as the Dice Quad Hunt is going on, you know, both runners are scratching lottery tickets, but Lynn has had way more lottery tickets than Andy did, and in fact, it's more like a raffle where one of the raffle tickets has the winning number on it.
And there's our butter sword and our final crystal. Off to go beat Ganon inside the Lumberjack Cave.
And here's Lynn. Taking the whirlpool to get to Ganon faster.
And here is the final flank. Thanks, Ganon.
Andy is making exasperated faces at the camera.
It's okay, Andy. The pain will be over soon.
Andy making the totally reasonable left side swap play, having checked a whole bunch of other stuff. Lynn, on the other hand, winning the game. GG's to Lynn.
GG's.
Oh, sorry. GG's to Lynn.
There we go. I have seen the falls be taken before, but it's a pretty safe bet that that was a good GG. And GG's Linlinlin.
GG's.
That that was brutal.
Very brutal. Like, at this point, after I get the hammer, basically, I'm down to fewer. I have a lot of entrances I haven't checked, but in my tracker, I have the Kid left, Spike Cave, and Ice Rod Cave, and I don't really want to look for them.
Yeah.
So I'm just going where I know there are some items, looking for my Ice Rod, because I know there are items at those spots, and like if I check entrances, I'm not sure I'm gonna get an item, so I just cleared every spot where items before checking for entrances.
I was trying to look over your shoulder at your entrance tracker to see which entrances you had unchecked, but it's small enough that I couldn't decode that you hadn't checked those couple of entrances yet.
Basically, every Bumbles I haven't checked.
Yeah, right.
GG's, Andy.
GG's.
God.
Oh god, that Ice
I was
Rod.
so excited about this seed because with Sank being an uncle, I was like, let's just go to Eastern area early. And so I saw Flute on Desert Torch at like the 5-minute mark. And then went to Kakariko, got boots. Like my first entrance check there went straight back to Desert. And I was feeling super good. I was like, it's going to be the best seed ever.
And that was your mistake.
Like my mid game was super good. I basically, after I found the hammer in GT, I did T-Stone, Pod, Eastern, Ice Palace, Swamp Palace, like back to back. Misery Mario,
Yup.
6 dungeons. 6 dungeons. The only thing I checked on my way was Potion Shop because I turned into Mushroom and it was on my way to Ice Palace.
You got some more potions while you're at it.
Yeah, but yeah, I did 6 dungeons back to back.
It was, and yeah, hope the actual turns out. So you sort of got to GT via connector, sort of kind of by happenstance. Were you sort of looking for an excuse to go to GT, Lynn, or was that just lucky connectoring?
For the hammer or for the pearl?
For the hammer.
That was lucky connectoring.
Okay.
I mean, I was checking Hookshot
really
Cave. I was checking Hookshot Cave, and I saw the exit. I'm like, I got my cane. I kind of have to go while I'm here, so I just went.
Okay. So you got there. You got those things well before Andy did. Andy, were you deliberately putting off GT, or was it just not convenient at any moment?
It was just so awkward to get to. Like, it was in my mind, but I didn't have a third GT small to put right side in logic yet.
Right.
So I was kind of like waiting to find that before being like, okay, we're going to take like these stupid like 4-chain connectors to get to Dark World East Death Mountain on top. And then, so I did Meyer before going there.
I gotta say, is 45 the number of arrows you need to beat Moldorm consistently with no sword?
For Vidi?
Vidi.
35 minimum. But the lightning can block arrows, so I like to get a little more.
You know what? When I found Meyer, I thought about it. But I said, nah.
I found it on my way to getting Samaria. Like, it was like, okay, I'm gonna do all this stuff, mirror, get Samaria, and then do Dark Shopping Mall. And then I found Meyer there, and I'm like, well, I'm not doing this without Samaria because that'd be stupid because it's right there. And so I ended up just like doing Meyer in the second trip. But God, that Moon Pearl sucked.
Nope. Agreed.
It was a 50-50. It was like either you drop down, for me anyways, it was either like drop down Dark World East Death Mountain and hope Hype Cave is down there and talk to the generous dude and get the Moon Pearl, or drop down in the Light World and find something else to get the Moon Pearl. But God, that Moon Pearl sucked. And then I was like, well...
Chat was very satisfied that when you hovered Spectacle Rock on the way to GT, that you got punished.
Wait, yeah, true. There's a way to GT like this. True.
Yeah, so okay, I checked. I couldn't remember if I had checked that cave yet or not, and so I I did that before Meyer, and I was like, okay, well, if I want to come to GT, I can just hover this again afterwards. And then I didn't and did other stuff instead. But
you got the bug net, and that's really
I did get the bug net.
Yeah, that was quite the Moonfall location, and also quite the sword location. You guys were doing some solid swordless there for. I think the first sword on either side was about an hour 30.
I don't remember.
Yeah, my first sword was out of logic on Meyer Fire.
Yeah,
I don't remember where was mine. In GT probably.
GT behind Ice Armos was one as well.
Yeah.
That was my second one, and I was like, nice, I have an in-logic sword finally, let's go.
Yeah, it was some unfortunate locations there. Lynn, you were in Ice Rod Hunt mode for what, about half an hour there?
I don't
Probably
remember.
something close like that.
Yeah, it was quite some time hunting for the ice rod for you, and I do recall that a lot of chat and us on comms, we were trying to figure out what options are left for Lynn to find the ice rod. Like, where could it be? Could be validation chest. It could be maybe big chest in GT. Could be a number of things, and then you just went and checked all of them one by one, and it was nothing. It wasn't on Sahasrahla, and we were like, where is it? We have no idea.
Yeah, and you were down to very few entrances. I want to actually, Chad has brought up a point that I want to. You both skipped left side swamp. Tell me why. Explain.
Not so much left. Paraskull would.
Yeah, there was so much left. It was
Alright.
not quite as much left for me as it was for Lynn, but it was like, do Eastern Palace. I could do most of Thieves Town even without the small key, anyways. Yeah, there was just too much left to
And
really
Trumpet was
do it.
super easy to get back to as well.
Yeah, yeah. Once you got mitts, it was like fine. Even without mitts, it wasn't really that bad. But yeah, that's why I did Swamp. I went to go play left side Swamp before Spike Cave because I was like, all right, Lynn probably also skipped this. I'm just gonna assume that we're both gonna last location this. I'm gonna skip one check. But it ended up being in Spike Cave anyways.
Lynn hadn't actually even found Spike Cave. How did you miss all of the pod area for the entire seed, Lynn?
I mean, I found all my dungeons.
Yeah.
No reason to check any more entrances.
Yeah, I mean that's totally fair. It's just I feel like it's kind of hard to get 2 hours into a seed and not have been over there for any reason.
Three one item.
Yeah.
Like, three one item location, and like I know where some items are, and I just prioritize the spot where I know I'm gonna get something.
Yeah, no, it's the your logic is reasonable. It's just unusual that it's correct for you to have not ever been to pod. Do you guys know when Game 3 is?
Not really.
Okay.
I'm so excited that this is going to a Game 3. I mean, I wasn't rooting for anybody to win in particular, but I wanted a Game 3. So whatever needed to happen to make that happen, I'm happy.
Let's see. The match that we'd be waiting on, whoever loses, is still waiting for a Game 3 of the match before that to happen.
Yeah.
So,
you guys got time.
We still got a hot minute.
Yeah, no rush, but you guys are a glamour matchup, so people want to know what's up.
Yeah, the Glamour 355 matchup that the rarely seen.
Woo!
Oh man.
Just because you started with glamour doesn't mean there's any now. All right, Liberal, you got any more good questions for our runners?
No, nothing exciting. Just GG's, both of you.
All right. Thanks for the interviews, guys. Thanks for the racing, and thanks to the volunteers. Void King is ready to fiddle us out, so see you all around.
Yeah, so thank you to the comms again for this, and I'll be throwing things over to, I assume, ZSR3. So, thank you for watching, and see you guys next time. Bye!
Right, everybody.